Hello, everyone. It's Mike. And today I tried something that surprised me. I invited ChatGPT to study the Bible with me. So come along with me and I'll show you how that went. Okay, so first, let me show you this prompt that I created, and then we can walk together through the rest of it and see what it looked like during this particular session. All right, so here's the beginning of our conversation, or my conversation with ChatGPT, and here's that prompt that I showed you. And then here's what ChatGPT responded with. I like that. Let's keep it real and thoughtful. Not a lecture, not a seminary class, just two people opening the text together. I follow your lead. I won't overload it with commentary unless you ask for it. If something interesting pops up, I might say, hey, I've got something cool to share. But otherwise, we'll just explore it naturally. So I kind of like this opening to our conversation. And I have much more to say on this topic. But I just wanted to kind of show you. And then I'm going to take you into a little bit deeper dive on this conversation with ChatGPT. Now, I want you to notice that my prompt was not overly complicated, and I could have asked it to do any number of things, but in this case, I just wanted it to be kind of a real high level, two friends having a conversation, and I think that's how this turned out. I want to show you now a few more sections of this conversation. I found it to be a really useful tool, and it helped me to understand things in this particular chapter that I didn't understand before. But also it was partly based on the questions that I was asking or that chat was asking me, because it was prompting me with some questions as well. So let's take a look at that. So here you can see it's telling me and prompting me, so where do you want to start? A specific passage, something you've been thinking about. And I said, let's take a look at Genesis 12 today. Okay, so from there, it says Genesis 12. That's a good one, big turning point. And so what I want to also point out is that I had already read Genesis 12 ahead of this interaction so that I could have a knowledgeable conversation with chat and also begin to ask it questions that it could expound upon. So what you're going to see is sort of a deeper dive into Genesis 12 based on the prompt that I had set up for this particular conversation. Now here you can see that chat is prompting me, and it says, when you read the opening lines, go from your country to the land I will show you. What hits you first? Is it the command? Is it the promise, the uncertainty, or Abram being 75? And so it prompts me with the final question, what stands out to you? And you can see my response. Well, the first thing I noticed is that he's 75 years old. That's pretty crazy. And then chat responds with, yeah, 75. That changes the tone, doesn't it? If he were 25, we'd read it as ambition. And at 75, it feels like disruption. So this kind of conversation, this kind of interaction is kind of exactly what I was looking for in this particular type of partner-based study. Now here you can see, now we're down in verses 6 and 7, and I said in verse 6 and 7 it is basically talking about that they traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Morah, and on it goes. And then a chat comes back and explains, yeah, that's a key part of the promise. It's like a milestone moment. He is in the land now, and God doubles down. This is for your descendants. The altar of Abram's way of marking the spot, like saying, this is significant. I recognize it. At this point, I want to stop, and I also want to let you know that when I was having this conversation in chat, we were having a verbal or audio conversation. I was not literally typing these questions. Chat was speaking to me through its audio interface, and then I was clicking the microphone and speaking back to it. And so that's kind of interesting and a different way to approach this. but it's much more like a natural conversation, which I felt more resembled, a person-to-person interface. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. Here we are looking at verses 14 through the end of the chapter, verse 20. And this is what I'm saying to chat is, and in these verses 14 through the end of chapter, verse 20, basically it's coming right back into his face about what he said to his wife. And, Pharaoh, of course, the leader of Egypt at this time, is very upset with him for lying to him. Basically, he says, what have you done to me? Okay, and so this is me talking to or with chat, and then chat comes back and says, it is surprising, right? I mean, he could have faced serious consequences. So this conversation that we're having is not only informative, but also at any given point, I could have stopped and asked chat to give me more information about any particular verse or any particular word or phrasing. But at this point, I just had told it, I want to have just this kind of high level give and take conversation. In my next video, I'm going to try to get a sample of what that conversation sounded like when we were going through this together. But for now, we'll stop here and I'll catch you in the next video.